While the president today talked about coronavirus during his update, he did not address the protests that are happening in Atlanta and many other cities and the protests that have been happening in Minneapolis as well. He did tweet about that overnight. In a tweet that has been very controversial, he wrote, "These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Any difficulty, we will assume control, but when the looting starts, the shooting starts." And that tweet was then flagged by Twitter, adding what it calls a public interest notice, saying that the president's tweet, quote, violates our policies regarding the glorification of violence and the risk it could inspire similar actions today.